W08 and we are up against DSVG. Today my team will be Pryde, Tigra and Omega Sentinel. I will be taking Path 1 in Section 1, Node 20 Apocalypse, Power Snack Peni, Mixmaster Hulkling, EMP Modifications Nick Fury, Path 2 in Section 2, all the right side mini-bosses as well as that man-thing boss. I'm gonna have a couple of new fights this war, which is very nice to see. Up first we have this red Magneto on personal space regeneration, and I'm taking this fight with Pryde. I'm fully boosted and I have my recoil masteries on, so this will be a fast fight. The plan is to just get to my special 2 and nuke him down. I'm gonna be using Pryde's phasing to get perfect parries so that I don't take any unnecessary block damage. That's a great way to get your openings before you reach the 10 prowess needed for the unblockable. I didn't wanna risk eating his special 2, so instead of trying to dex it, I just phase it. Because if that special 2 hits, you're gone. Next up we have a Killmonger on Masochism Overtime, and this is another fight for Pryde. Kitty is basically the perfect counter for this, since you don't need any debuffs on the opponent to do damage, you don't need to parry for openings, and you can just face all the reverberation damage. Now for this fight I won't be going for my special 2, since Killmonger has extra critical resistance, it's very likely that my special 2 would not crit. So instead I'm keeping my prowess so I can phase and be unblockable, regen up with my recoil masteries, and then try to finish the fight with a big special 3. I dropped my special 3 hoping that it would finish the fight, but it doesn't. However, Killmonger just ends the fight by hitting it to my face. Next up we have Apocalypse on Masochism and Strike Counter Fury node, and I'm taking this fight with Omega Sentinel starting with the heal block debuff. The game plan here is basically the same as against a man-thing that you've probably seen before. I'm using the heal block debuff to counter all the regeneration, and then just using my special 2 for the incinerate, or in this case plasma debuffs, to deal most of my damage. I need to use my parry stuns to trigger the masochism so that I can stick my heal block debuffs. I need to stack all 3 of them, preferably, before throwing my special 2, so that I can stack as many of those plasma debuffs as possible. Then I need to keep all of my debuffs paused by finishing my combos with light attacks. And this is where Omega Sentinel's Awakened ability comes into play. Against opponents with prowess, for each prowess on them up to 5, Omega Sentinel inflicts an extra Incinerator plasma debuff on her special 2, so you're dealing even more damage. 3,400 damage on those plasma debuffs, and I only had 6 of them up. They cap out at 20. Here I had an alliance mate go and place a white Magneto pre-fight on Peni for me, and also give me some energy, so I'm just waiting for that. Okay, next up we have a Peni on Power Snack node, and I'm taking this with Pryde using the white Magneto pre-fight. As you probably know by now, the white Magneto pre-fight gives me passive stuns, which on Pryde allow her to get 3 prowess on every single parry. I use that to get to 10 prowess as fast as possible for the unblockable. Peni can't auto-block unblockable attacks, so you completely ignore that part of her kit. As for Power Snack, I do my best to not trigger Dexterity at all in this fight, and that is the only buff that Kitty can get, as long as you don't throw your special 2 when you're not facing. Now that backup recovery triggered, Penny got way too close to her special 3, so I need to bait out a special 2 here. If I dex a single time to trigger Power Snack, she will get to her special 3. Baiting specials is easier said than done. This is gonna take a while. At this point I was just about to go for the Kitty cycle, but I decided to wait a little bit longer. Luckily she threw that special 2, so I could continue the fight. At this point I probably could have finished the fight by throwing my special 3, since Penny Parker's heal blocks had already ramped up my prowess potency quite a lot. But instead I let her power burn me with her special 1 a little bit, so that I could finish the fight with a big special 2. Then we have a Hulkling on the Mixmaster node, and I'm taking this fight with Tigra. I'm keeping my recoil masteries on, as well as popping an advanced power boost on, because my plan is to finish this fight with a single special 2. With an advanced power boost, all I need to do is punish 2 heavy attacks with my heavy to reach my special 2. However, this Hulkling decided that he didn't want to do that. So instead of throwing heavy attacks, he decided to pound into my block, which took away half my HP in a few seconds. And on top of that, my first special 2 did not finish it. The fight was only about 20 seconds long, but I still lost almost 60% of my HP. A scary fight, but Tigra can do it. Next up we have a Nick Fury on EMP mod, and I'm gonna be using Kitty Pryde. Now I messed up a little here, because I was supposed to have a white Magneto pre-fight, but I kinda forgot about it and just went in. It would have been very useful to ramp up my prowess a lot faster, and it would have made the fight a lot safer. But even without it, Kitty Pryde can do this just fine. Now the plan here is to just not trigger Dexterity at all. So for Nick's special 1, I need to eat it into my face. For his special 2, I face it, or I eat it into my face, depending on how many charges he has. Whenever you fight a Nick Fury with Kitty, you really don't wanna be using specials unless it's to finish the fight. If you use a special, you lose your prowess and then you can't face his special 1. Here I had enough prowess to face, but I messed up my spacing and I wasn't far enough away to start dashing at him. So instead of facing his special 1, I just ate it without any safety net. Luckily he didn't crit a single hit of it, and even more so that he wasn't in his second life yet. Had he had that Fury buff, that could have been bad. Especially with Aspect of Evolution increasing all of his stats. I faced the last hit of his special 2 to gain a few more prowess before throwing my special 3 to finish the fight. Even though I messed up by not waiting for the White Magneto pre-fight and by eating his special 1, this was still a pretty simple fight for Kitty. Then we have a Dragon Man on strike counter block penetration, and I'm using Kitty Pryde here. My plan here is to use Kitty Pryde's phasing to completely turn off Dragon Man's power charge from activating for the rest of the fight. To do that I need to be phasing when Dragon Man is just about to gain his charge back. Now this is something that most people probably don't know about Kitty, since no one really shows it anywhere or talks about it. But when Kitty Pryde is phasing, she lowers the ability accuracy of robots by 20%. So with that you can disable Dragon Man's power gain completely if you get lucky. Since it's only a 20% decrease to ability accuracy, it might take a few attempts. Luckily in this fight I got it on my first attempt. Now I could have done the same thing with Tigra, but I wanted to showcase this ability of Kitty. Next up we have a Havok on strike counter block penetration, and I'm using Omega Sentinel starting with the heal block debuff. Now Havok doesn't have the conduit global, but I still started the heal block to deal with any willpower regen, if he has any. I decided to do this fight with Omega Sentinel instead of Tigra or Kitty, because of those armor up buffs. If you have an armor up buff, Havok can't deal any plasma detonation damage on you, so there's really nothing to worry about. Against someone like Havok, who has easy access to a lot of prowess, you don't have to worry about keeping your non-damaging debuffs up. All you need to do is make sure your opponent has a bunch of prowess before throwing your special 2, and you will inflict a bunch of plasma or incinerate. Even with Havok's energy resistance, he can't really do much about that. Next up we have a King Groot on the Safeguard mini-boss node, and I'm using Omega Sentinel starting with the heal block debuff. Now I have taken this fight with Omega Sentinel before, and it is a pretty simple one. All you need to do is get to your special 3, throw it for the incinerate debuffs, and then get your heal block debuff up so that the conduit regen won't be a problem. And then just keep them paused by finishing your combos with light attacks for the rest of the fight. Now the most important thing to remember when taking this fight is to never ever push King Groot to his special 2. The burst damage on it is tripled against robot champions, and Omega Sentinel is a robot. But as long as you don't do that, there really isn't anything that could go horribly wrong with this fight. Sure, the unblockable can be annoying, but to get around that you either can bait his special ones, bait heavy attacks, hit into his block and wait it out, dance around to wait it out, or just land intercepts. Now that I've gotten to my special 3, the next thing I need to do is find an opening and do a full combo finishing with a light attack to pause my debuffs. However, this King Groot doesn't wanna let me do that. I'm trying to bait specials, I'm trying to bait heavy attacks, but he's just not going for them. My debuffs almost fell off, but I just managed to get them paused. Now, even though I have the Incinerates up, I don't have a heal block on, so Conduit is regening back almost everything I'm doing. Instead of going for a double medium to inflict another heal block debuff, I instead keep doing my light ending combos and building back up to my special 3. That way, when or if my debuffs were to fall off, I can just throw another special 3 to inflict a new set of incinerate debuffs. And it worked out perfectly. I throw a double medium to inflict a heal block debuff before throwing my special 3, so that I don't have to try and get an opening after throwing. And down he goes. Now, even though this fight didn't really go exactly as planned, it just goes to show that Omega Sentinel is a great option for it. Next up we have a Hulkbuster on the Stunning Reflection mid-boss node, and I'm using Pryde. The idea here is the same as last time. I'm using my phasing to avoid all the shock damage I get from critting him while he has an armor up buff, and I just heal up with the recoil masteries, the shock debuff and the armor breaks that I'm getting. Now I did get a very unlucky start for this fight. I landed 2 criticals on my first combo, but because Hulkbuster's armor buffs lower your offensive ability accuracy, I didn't get any prowess from them. So I couldn't start phasing as soon as I wanted to. I lost a lot of HP because of it, but now the fight is all under control. I keep doing medium light combos for the rest of the fight to get the maximum benefit from willpower. If your timing is good, doing medium light combos allows your phasing to be up for most of the fight. It only ever goes off for a few frames at a time. Sometimes a tick of damage can trigger between those frames that you're not phasing, but for the most part, you will not be taking any damage while doing this. Here I did drop an input. I tried to dash back and then go for another medium, but instead, I for some reason just held my block and threw my second medium instead. Don't really know how that happened, but I'm glad it didn't cost me. Next up we have a Scorpion on the Brute Force mini-boss node, and I'm using Kitty Pryde with the White Magneto pre-fight. Having White Max here isn't necessary, and I have taken this fight before without it, but it helps to ramp up your prowess faster, in case you ever need it. The plan here is to only bait Scorpion Special 2, since it's a lot easier to dex than the Special 1. I could face the Special 1, but I don't really want to waste my prowess like that. And blocking the Special 1 isn't a great idea either, because it can trigger those sting debuffs through your block. And the power sting aspect of the debuffs isn't really an issue, since I will only ever be throwing my special when I'm phasing, but they are poison debuffs, and poison lowers your regeneration rate, and in this case it would cause me to lose a lot more HP from recoil masteries. I go for my special 3 to try to finish the fight, but once again Scorpion lives through it, but then he also decides that he doesn't wanna be here anymore and hits into my face a few times. Next up we have a Man-Thing boss, and I'm taking this with Tigra. Now this fight may look familiar because I did upload it separately earlier, just to add it to my unique boss solo collection. I am still including it in this video because it happened in this war, and I'd like to commentate on a few things here. So the reason why I'm using Tigra here, well, number one, I wanted to add Man-Thing to my list of boss solos, but I did also want to showcase something that was changed with Neutralize pretty recently. Now, Neutralize has always been able to stop some buffs that trigger on the attacking champion caused by the opponent's abilities or nodes. As an example, the Fury buffs on the Rising Sun and Icarus nodes, Combo Party Cruelty nodes, as well as the Fury buffs on Ebony Maw Special 1. But they never stopped the pustule buffs from Man-Thing. I never knew why, and it didn't really make any sense since that was basically the only thing that it didn't work on. But I'm not sure which update it was, but it was recently changed. And now Tigra is an excellent counter to Man-Thing. He can't poison you, and Mystic Dispersion won't be a problem, because he simply can't trigger those buffs on you. This also makes Wiccan and Rintra very good against him. And that marks the end of this war. and my group ended up beating theirs 5-1. We had a very good war, and we ended up winning 11-7.